Hello everyone, welcome to the course Nature and Properties of Materials. In week 2, we'll be talking about atomic bonding and crystal structure. So this course is offered by Professor Vishak Bhattacharya from Department of Mechanical Engineering, IIT Kanpur. I'm your TA, Alka Jangir from IIT Kanpur. So firstly, we'll be going through some sample assignment questions which will be helping you in solving your assignments, and then we'll be going through some lecture notes. So first question is, which of the following techniques can be used to observe and analyze crystallographic planes? Your options are X-ray diffraction, electron microscopy, scanning tunneling microscopy, or all of the above. So in case of materials, which of these characterization technique can you use to analyze crystallographic planes? So answer will be all of the above. So the explanation can be given as by saying that in case of XRD and for example TEM, transmission electron microscopy, and STEM, these both they use electrons and X-rays to analyze the material. So their wavelength helps in analyzing the crystallographic planes, and these, in case of X-ray, you can analyze various slip planes in these materials. Next question is, which of the following statements is true about Schottky defect? Your options are, it increases the density of the crystal. Second option is, it decreases the density of crystal, or it does not affect the density, or it increases the porosity of the crystal. So when you talk about density, so it is different than porosity. So porosity is at a micro level compared to density. So density, when you will be measuring, even if there are some atoms are missing, the density will be different. So in case of Schottky defect, what happens? Your anion and cations will be vacant from your lattice points in ionic solids. So these will lead to reduction in your density of crystal. So answer will be, it decreases the density of the crystal. And here your Schottky defect is shown here. So here your anion and cation are vacant from the lattice. So it will lead to decrease in your density. So as a pair is missing. Next question is, the number of atoms centered on the 110 direction for the FCC structure is, your options are 1, 2, 3 and 0.5. So in case of FCC crystal structure, along 110 direction, it will be an phase diagonal. So in FCC structure, your atoms are situated at the phase centers. So answer will be 2, and this is how you can visualize FCC structure. So in this case, this phase diagonal, it has 3 atoms sitting on it. So these corner atoms, they are shared half, and the center atom is shared whole as a whole. So the addition will be 1 plus 0.5 plus 0.5. So there will be 2 atoms sitting on the 110 direction. So in case of phase centered cubic unit cells, hard spheres, they touch each other along the phase diagonal. So you can calculate the packing fraction as well, and for the atoms it will be 2 atoms in this direction. Next question is, which pair is for the rhombohedral system? So your geometric parameters, which are ABC and alpha, beta, gamma, these are interaxial angles, and these are your axes. So ABC all equal, and alpha, beta equal, and gamma equal not to 90, or these all ABC not equal, or alpha, beta, gamma all 90, or all these are equal, which is, this is for cubic system, and alpha A, B equal and equal not to C, or alpha, beta, gamma all equal to 90. So your answer will be first one. Rhombohedral system looks like this one. So in this case, your A, B, C, they all are equal, and your two angles are equal, and gamma equal not to 90. And cinnabar, which is HGS, and calcite, these are some of the examples of rhombohedral crystal system. Fifth question is, what is the terminology representing the movement of block of atoms along certain crystallographic plane and directions? So your options are glide, slip, twinning, and jog, and answer will be slip. So your movement of block of atoms, so block of atoms is here represents dislocation. So if your dislocation moves along the slip planes and in slip direction, then it is a terminology called as slip. So in explanation, so slip is a mechanism of plastic deformation along with twinning and climbing. In slip, your half planes of the atoms, also known as dislocations, they move on slip planes in slip directions. While in twinning, your reorientation of atoms occur, which can be in fraction of atomic distance also. Then next is jogs are developed by the interaction of dislocations. Now, which of the following imperfection are point imperfections? Your options are vacancy, interstitialcy, Frankel imperfection, and Schottky imperfection. So you are given various combinations of these, which is correct. So point imperfection, you know the vacancy, interstitialcy, Frankel, these all four are point imperfection. So your answer will be last one. These are the small definitions for all these point imperfections. So in case of vacancy defect, it is an empty atomic site, and in case of interstitialcy, your atom occupies an interstitial site. And in case of Frankel defect, there will be formation of vacancy interstitial pair, and in case of Schottky defect, there will be a pair of missing anion and cation from the lattice. So these all four of these are point defects. 7th question is, which one of the following defects is Schottky defect? And your options are vacancy defect, compositional defect, interstitialcy defect, or surface defect. So your answer will be vacancy defect. So here you can see in case of Schottky defect, here anion and cation both will be vacant, so there will be decrease in density of your ionic solid. So in case of Schottky defect, it is a pair of missing anions and cations from the lattice, so it is a vacancy defect. And in case of compositional defect, it is due to the alloying or impurity presence, and examples are substitutional and interstitial defects. So in this, composition will be changing of your pure metal. In case of interstitial defect, in this case, an atom other than the parent atom is present in the interstitial sites, which can be octahedral or tetrahedral voids. Next is surface defect. it is the outermost planes of a material which are surface defects, which is a physical boundary. Next question is, what does a Miller index of 0, 1, 1, 1 represent in a crystal lattice? So your options are a plane which intersects x-axis at 0, y at 1, z at 1, or x at 1, y at 0 and z at 1, x at 1, y at 1 and z at 0, or x and y at 0 and z at 1. So when you find out Miller indices of planes, you take reciprocal of the intercepts. So in this case, if you take their reciprocals, so in this case, when it won't be cutting x-axis at, so it will be x at 0, y at 1 and z at 1. This will be your answer. Now these are various steps that are followed for finding out planes for Miller indices of planes. So firstly, you find out the intercepts of the plane. You fix an origin which does not touch the plane and it is closest to the plane. Then plane closest to the, then we mark the reciprocals. Then we take intercepts of these plane to various axes. So in case of x, the intercept is a, for y it will be b, for z it will be c. Then you take reciprocals, so 1 upon a, 1 upon b, 1 upon c. These all, then they are modified. So for example, if these are 2, 4, 6, then you have to divide all these by 2. So it will be 1, 2, 3. Or if it is in fraction, then you have to multiply it with a number, so to make all these whole numbers. So for example, in this case it is 1, 1, 1 plane, and you use small bracket to show an individual plane. Next question is, what is the hardenability of steel? Your options are resistance to oxidation, surface property, absence of atoms and lattice points, or the depth to which a steel is hardened. So your answer will be depth to which a steel is hardened. So we can explain this by saying that hardenability is the depth to which a steel is hardened after putting it through a heat treatment process. And your absence of atoms and lattice points, this is for vacancy definition. And your hardenability is not a surface property, it is a bulk property, so this statement is incorrect as well. And resistance to oxidation is a chemical property of material. Now 10th question is, what is the crystal system of diamond crystal? Your options are tetragonal, orthorhombic, cubic, triclinic. So for diamond, its crystal structure is called diamond cubic. So answer will be cubic. So diamond is a solid form of element carbon with its atoms arranged in a crystal structure called diamond cubic. So this is your crystal structure, what it looks like. So these carbon atoms are also kept in a tetrahedral voids and on the face centers of your cubic structure. Now we'll be going through some lecture notes, so which can help you in understanding your assignment questions. Firstly, the foremost important thing for understanding crystal structure, so first you need to understand periodic table. So in case of periodic table, when you go along columns, so there are various groups, so 1 to 18 groups, and in the column when you go, then they have similar valence structure. So number of valence electrons is similar, that's why they show similar properties. So for in this case, if you move in this direction on the right side, then your electronegativity increases. So in this case, your material will easily acquire electrons to become negative ions. And in this case, fluorine has the most electronegativity. If you move to the left side, then these give up electrons easily to become positive ions. So in this case, cesium is the most electropositive metal. And in this side you have metals. In this side you have semi-metals or metalloids around carbon, silicon, these. And then at the right side you find out non-metals. Now for understanding the origin of material properties, it requires study at the atomic level. So first is interatomic bonds. They hold atoms together and they act like springs by linking one atom to other in the solid state. Now as we know, when you stretch a spring, then it tries to come back to a equilibrium position. So same thing happens in case of atoms. Other thing is atomic packing, so which signifies the way in which atoms are packed together, and number of springs per unit area and angle at which they are pulled. It decides the properties of materials. Now the classification of atomic bonding. So these mainly can be of two types, primary bonding and secondary bonding. In case of primary bonding, these are relatively strong, and materials which have primary bonding, they melt between 1000 to 4000 Kelvin. And the examples are covalent bonding, ionic bonding and metallic bonding. In case of secondary bonding, these are relatively weak and these materials melt between 100 to 500 Kelvin. So options of the examples of secondary bonding are van der Waals bonding and hydrogen bonding. Now in case of ionic bonding, it is found in compounds that are composed of both metallic and non-metallic elements. So your one part will be from this side of periodic table and other part will be from this side. So for example, lithium and fluorine, these all, when they make NaCl, when they make compounds, they will be having more likely ionic bonding, and there will be large difference in electronegativity required, which means bonding occurs between elements situated at the periodic table's horizontal extremities. Now it requires electron transfer to achieve stabilized outermost electronic configuration, and the bonding forces are coulombic and the attraction between opposite charges. The examples are sodium chloride, silver chloride, cesium chloride, zinc sulfide, calcium fluoride, lithium fluoride, magnesium oxide and alumina. The properties of these solids, so ionic bonds are non-directional because the magnitude of bond is equal in all the directions around an ion, and the higher melting point because of large bond energy, typically 600 to 1500 kilojoule per mole or 3 to 8 electron volt per atom. Now these are often hard and brittle materials, and the ionic solids, they are good insulators of electricity in their solid state and good conductors of electricity in their molten state. Second type of bonding is covalent bonding. These are stable electron configurations are obtained by the sharing of electrons between adjacent atoms. So the covalent bond is directional in nature and means occurs between specific atoms and only in the direction between one atom and another that participates in the electron sharing. And the number of covalent bonds for a particular atom, it will be equals to 8 minus n, where n is number of valence electrons. Example are non-metallic molecules such as hydrogen gas, fluorine, chlorine, etc. The molecules containing dissimilar atoms such as methane, CH4, water, H2O, HNO3, nitric acid, and your hydrogen fluoride, HF, which is acid. And in case of elemental solids, you have diamond, silicon, and in case of solid compounds, you have gallium arsenide and indium antimonide and silicon carbide. In case of polymers, these also contains secondary bonding. In case of polymers, when you go along the chains, you have covalent bonding, and between the two different chains, you'll be finding secondary type of bonding. Now, these are some examples of covalent bonding. First is the hydrogen molecule. So, covalent bond formation between two hydrogen atoms making hydrogen molecule. One hydrogen atom will be having one proton and one electron. So, when these both will coming together, they'll be sharing their electrons. So, they'll be completing 2 electrons required in outer shell. And in case of covalent bonding in methane, CH4 molecule, a carbon atom shares its 4 valence electrons with 4 hydrogen atoms. So, carbon has 4 outer shell electrons and hydrogen has 1. So, 4 hydrogens will be sharing their electrons with carbon. So, 8 electrons will be in the carbon's outer shell, and in hydrogen's outer shell there will be 2 electrons. In diamond, it has high thermal conductivity, 2000 watt per meter Kelvin, which is 5 times the copper, and high melting temperature 3600 degrees Celsius due to the presence of tetrahedral geometry and highly directional covalent bonding. It has no free electrons and heat conduction is only by lattice vibrations. It is used in applications such as cutting tools, polishing wheels, and precision bearings, etc. This is the structure of diamond. Now next is metallic bonding. In this case, it is found in metals and their alloys. The metallic materials have at most 3 valence electrons which are not bound to any particular atom in the solid, forming an electron cloud. So these all electrons, they go and form this electron cloud, and these are ion cores which are glued together by these electrons. So the rest non-valence and atomic nuclei form ion cores having a net positive charge. So there is a force of attraction between valence electrons and metal ions. These free electrons, they act as a glue to hold the ion cores together, and the metallic bond imparts properties such as strength, malleability, ductility, luster, conduction of heat, and electricity. Now these free electrons, they provide easy conduction of your heat and electricity in metals. Next is secondary type of bonding, hydrogen bonding. So in this case, you have strong dipole-dipole attraction which involves molecules with OH, NH and FH groups. Example is water, which expands upon freezing. And in case of solid ice, you have each water molecule which participates in 4 hydrogen bonds. So in case of hydrogen bonds, they keep molecules apart, thus relatively open structure in ice. Hence, ice has a lower density than liquid water, so it floats. So this is your structure of ice. So formation of this hydrogen bond, it is making an open type of structure and density will reduce. Next is van der Waals bonding. In this case, it is weak in comparison to primary bonding. In this case, bond energy is of order of 10 kilojoule per mole or 0.1 electron volt per atom, and it occurs to some extent in all materials but is particularly important in plastics and polymers, and it results from attractive forces between electric dipoles. Now various type of bonding, they lead to formation of classes and materials. So first class is ceramics. In this case you have bonding of ionic and covalent type of bonding. So ceramics have very high melting temperatures and they also have large elastic modulus and high bond energy and small alpha. Alpha is your thermal expansion coefficient. In case of metals, they have metallic bonding and they have all these things moderate, so it has variable bond energy and moderate melting temperature and elastic modulus and also moderate thermal expansion coefficient. In case of polymers, you have covalent and secondary type of bonding. So you have along the chain, you have covalent type of bonding, and between different chains you have secondary type of bonding. So in this case you have directional properties, secondary bonding dominates, and that's why it has very small melting temperature, very small elastic modulus and large thermal expansion coefficient. Now crystallography, it is the study of atomic and molecular structure. The study of crystal geometry helps to understand how the atom in a material are arranged in order to interpret the relation between atomic structure and properties of these materials, such as mechanical properties, electrical properties, magnetic properties, optical properties and metallurgical properties. The common technique that is used to find out the type of crystal structure in a material is X-ray diffraction. Now classification of solid materials is basically done in 3 parts based on type of repetition of atoms. So first type is crystalline, second is polycrystalline, and third is amorphous. Firstly, we'll be talking about crystalline solid. So in this case you have a long range structure which exists, in which atoms are arranged into unit cells and the unit cells repeat in a regular orderly pattern, forming a lattice which is 3D. Now because of this type of structure, it will be having directional properties. So for example, if you are seeing in this direction versus if you are seeing in this direction, so packing density will be different in both these directions. So that's why mechanical properties will be different in these directions. Mechanical, optical and various properties will be different in different directions. That's why these are anisotropic in nature. These crystalline solids, they have sharp melting point, and examples include gold, silver, aluminium, various ceramics, etc. Next is polycrystalline solid. So it is made up of an aggregate of many small single crystals, which are also called crystallites or grains. Now across grain boundary, so these are the grain boundaries which are black lines. From these are made because of the variation in orientation. So across grain boundary, the orientation of the crystal changes. and the grains are usually 100 nanometer to 100 micron in diameter for the all materials that are found around us. And polycrystalline materials have high degree of order over many atomic to or molecular dimensions. Polycrystals with grains that are less than 10 nanometer in diameter are called nanocrystalline, and most engineering materials are polycrystalline in nature. The properties may or may not vary with direction, and the examples are common steel, which is a polycrystalline material. And in this case, if you have grains which are textured due to rolling or other processes, then it is anisotropic in nature. And if grains are random, then it acts as isotropic. Next is single crystal. So in this case, you will be having only one grain and you won't be having any grain boundaries. It is formed by uniform cooling of liquid material. It has very high degree of order throughout the entire volume of material. It is useful for applications where grain boundaries are harmful. For example, in creep when you heat the material, these grain boundaries, they provide higher diffusion of atoms. So these can be detrimental at higher temperatures. So at higher temperatures, we prefer materials with very low grain boundary. So single crystals are preferred. So at high temperature, deformation or creep resistance, as creep takes place by grain boundary sliding, single crystal turbine blades, which are nickel based superalloy gas turbine blades, these all are made using single crystal. Other examples include diamond and semiconductors. In case of semiconductors as well, when you go for doping of your material, then you don't want any preferential segregation of this dopant at the grain boundary. So you want to make your silicon wafers in single crystal. Next is amorphous solid. So in this case, the atom or molecules are arranged in an irregular manner. These don't have any periodic packing and no directional properties. These are isotropic substances, and it occurs in case of complex structures. So for example, if you have more than 3 or 4 metals combined in an alloy, then if you solidify it, it's more likely to solidify in an amorphous nature. And if you are rapidly cooling some metal or other of your materials, then because of rapid cooling, they don't have any time to solidify in orderly fashion. So they are more likely to turn into amorphous nature. Examples are glass, plastic, rubber, etc. These have amorphous type of structure. This is your structure of silica, which is also amorphous. Next is your unit cell. It is the smallest block or geometrical figure from which the crystal is built up by repetition in 3 dimensions, and the fundamental grouping of particles which are repeating entities. So the unit cell is basic structural unit or building block of the crystal structure. So crystalline solid can be constructed from a unit cell plus translation operators. So if you have a unit cell, you can multiply it in multiple direction with x, and if you translate along y direction, you get 2D crystal structure. If you translate it along z's axis as well, then you get a 3D crystal structure. Next is your crystal system. It is made using 2 things. One is lattice, which is a mathematical representation, basis, which is your some atom or molecules that you are providing. So lattice is an array of points in space in which every point has an identical environment with respect to all other points. For example, this atom has similar type of atoms which this atom will be having. So the environment will be same, and basis is your single atom or group of atoms identical in composition. So it can be a molecule as well, which will be repeating on these lattice points. Now crystal systems can be of say 7 types based on these axial relationships. ABC are your axis, alpha, beta, gamma are your interaxial angles. So in case of cubic, these all will be equal and it has the highest symmetry. Least symmetry will be in case of triclinic, in which none of the axes or angles are equal. Now, first crystal structure in case of cubic, you have simple cubic. So in this case, you will be having atoms situated at the corner of the unit cell. So the unit cell consists of 8 corner atoms, and all these corner atoms, they contribute only one effective atom for the lattice. And number of atoms per unit cell, they can be calculated by this atom is shared by 8 other unit cells. So only 1/8 part of this atom is contributed in this unit cell, and there are 8 corners for the cube. So 8 will be multiplied by 1/8, so there will be 1 atom in all units. And packing fraction you can calculate by your volume of the atoms divided by volume of your entire unit cell. So unit cell is cubic and the lattice parameter is A, so it will be A cube. And your volume of atom, you can multiply effective number of atoms times the volume of a sphere. So sphere will be 4/3 pi r cube. In this case, these all atoms will be touching each other when you calculate these. So A will be equal to 2r. So when you find out the packing fraction, it will be 0.524. And coordination number, when you repeat this unit cell, then you will be finding this atom will be touching these 6 atoms, so it will be having coordination number 6 in case of simple cubic. And this has poor packing fraction, that's why it is rare and only found in case of polonium. Next is body centered cubic structure. In this case, number of atoms per unit cell will be 2. So in this case, it is similar to simple cubic, but 1 atom will be extra at the body center. So they'll be having 2 atoms per unit cell. So you have to multiply upper part with 2 in case when you calculate the packing fraction, and the relation with A and R will also be different. Here you have to consider one triangle and find out using Pythagoras theorem the relation between A and R, and then you find out the packing fraction to be 0.68. And in BCC, your coordination number will be 8. So from this atom you can find out that all corner atoms will be touching this body center atom. So your coordination number will be 8. Examples will be chromium, iron, molybdenum, potassium, sodium, tantalum and vanadium. Next is face centered cubic. In this case, you will be having atoms at the face centers of the cube. So along with the one atom at the all corners, you will be having these atoms at face center. So face is shared by 2 unit cells. So one more unit cell will be here. So it will be shared by 2 unit cells. So half will be in this unit. So half multiplied by 6 such places. So 6 multiplied by half. So it will be having 4 atoms per unit cell. And then again you can calculate packing fraction, which will be coming out as 0.74. Here you will be taking this triangle using this face diagonal, and in this case coordination number will be highest 12, which is similar in HCP. Packing fraction will also be similar. Examples for HCC are aluminium, copper, gold, silver, lead, nickel and platinum. Next is hexagonal centered cubic. In this case you can calculate number of atoms. So at the hexagons, at the corners of hexagon you will be having 6 such atoms at the both sides. So there will be 12 atoms times 1/6. So 1/6 will be in this unit cell, and 1 atom will be at the face centers, and 3 atoms will be totally inside the unit cell. So there will be 6 atoms in per unit cell, and the stacking sequence will be AB type of structure. So A will be this and B will be corresponding to this one. And coordination number, as I told earlier, it will be similar. And examples will be magnesium, cobalt, zirconium, titanium, zinc, cadmium and beryllium. Next is Miller indices. So this one will be used in identifying slip planes. So for understanding those, you need to understand how you use symbols for these planes. So Miller indices are designation of the planes and direction in the unit cell, and the number of indices will match with the dimension of the lattice or the crystal. So for example, if you have 3D lattice, then you will be using 3 symbols H, K, L. And if you use this comma, then it represents a point in 3D, but if you don't use any comma, then it corresponds to indices. So these are various symbols that are used. In case of small bracket, you use it to denote a individual plane, and if you use curly brackets, then it is for family of planes. So for example, 100, it will be combined all the 100 planes, which can be 100, 010 and 001 plane. And square bracket is for individual direction, and triangular bracket will be for family of directions. Next is Miller indices of a plane. So in case of if you have a plane, then you first choose an origin which does not intersect it, which does not plane does not touch the origin, and plane is closest to the origin. Then you have to mark intercepts from the chosen origin O. So if O in X direction, you have intercept A. In Y direction you have B. In C direction you have, in Z direction you have intercept C. Then you take their reciprocals as 1 by A, 1 by B, 1 by C. Then you have to modify these reciprocals. So if you have multiples, for example, if you have 2, 2, 2 or 2, 4, 6, then you have to divide it with 2. So it becomes 1, 2, 3. Or if you have fraction, then also you eliminate and you make these whole numbers. Then if you have negative integer, then you put a bar on this and you place round bracket around this. So in this case you have 1, 1, 1 plane here. Next is Miller indices of a direction. So in this case you create a new origin O dash at tail if necessary. So you can shift your origin. So as in this case where it's starting, you can provide it with a O dash. So you just find out how you are going from start point to the end point. So from O dash, you are moving in x direction as positive 1, and in y direction is positive in this direction, but you are moving in negative direction, so y will be -1, and you have to move in 1 for the z as well. So 1 bar 1 will be your direction. Next is crystal defects. So it is any deviation from a crystal's completely ordered arrangement of constituent particles is called a defect or imperfection, and it affects the properties of materials by the presence of imperfections, and mechanical properties of pure metal, they change significantly when metals are alloyed. So for example, if you are adding carbon in iron, so which leads to formation of steel, which is different from iron, it will be having different mechanical properties. Now the classification of crystal defects is based on the dimension. So 0D will be having very small dimension, so it will be in nanometer or angstrom size. So examples are vacancy defect, interstitial defect, substitutional defect, Frankel defect, and Schottky defect. 1D will be your edge dislocation, screw dislocation, and mixed dislocation. 2D will be grain boundaries, twin boundaries, and free surfaces. These are also planar type of defects. 3D or volume defects, these will be having higher dimensions, so these will be in micro size. So voids, cracks, these will be 3D defects. Now in case of vacancy defect, it is when an atom is missing from its regular lattice site, and it is called a vacancy, and it is impossible to create a material free from vacancy defect because it makes your material energetically favorable. So presence of vacancy increases entropy or disorder in the crystal, and it decreases the density of substance. The concentration of vacancy increases if you increase the temperature. So if you increase the temperature, then they are more likely to lead to an atomic diffusion and lead to formation of these vacancies. Other way, that if you are decreasing activation energy, for example, if you have two different type of materials, if one has lesser activation energy, then that will have higher number of vacancies at the same temperature. So it is the energy required for formation of vacancies. Next is your equilibrium vacancy concentration. Its formula is exponential of minus activation energy divided by Boltz's constant multiplied by temperature. Next is your grain boundaries. This is another planar type of defect. So in this case, you have boundaries which separate two grains or crystals having different crystallographic orientation. So for example, this grain has this is your orientation of this grain, and this grain has the orientation of this. So there is this angle is the misalignment angle. So if this is higher than 10 degrees Celsius, 10 degree, then it will be your high angle grain boundary. If it is less than 10 degree, then it will be small angle grain boundary. So the atoms near the boundaries are slightly disordered and have higher energy than those within the grains. The atoms which are sitting here near grain boundary, these will be having these will be deviating from your equilibrium distance for atoms. So that's why these will be having higher energy. And in general, a grain boundary has 5 degrees of freedom, and so this is the angle as these angle keep on increasing, then the energy between these grain boundary will also increase. Okay, so that's it from lecture notes. So I'll be repeating the sample assignment questions. So first question was, which of the following techniques can be used to observe and analyze crystallographic planes? Options are X-ray diffraction, electron microscopy, STM, and all of the above. So answer will be all of the above. So in all these cases, you either use electrons or X-rays to analyze material and phases. So these can give you information about your crystallographic planes. Next question is, which of the following statements is true about Schottky effect? Your options are, it increases density, decreases density, does not affect density, or increases porosity. So your porosity is at the level of micro level, so that won't be possible by Schottky effect. So this statement is completely false. Among other statements, you know that Schottky effect is pair of missing atoms, so it decreases the density of material. This is your Schottky effect. Next question is, the number of atoms centered on the 110 direction for the FCC structure is. So 1, 2, 3 or half. So answer will be 2. So 110 will be face diagonal for FCC structure. So in middle you will be having an atom as whole, so it will be 1, and at the corners it will be 0.5, 0.5. So total will be 2 atoms on the 110 direction. Next question is, which pair is the rhombohedral system? So these are various relationships. So among these, A equal to B equal to C, this will be your rhombohedral type of structure where all these ABC are equal, but alpha beta is equal and gamma equal not to 90. So this will be your rhombohedral type of structure, which is found in cinnabar and calcite. Next is, what is the terminology representing the movement of block of atoms along certain crystallographic plane and directions? The options are glide, slip, twinning and jog. Answer will be slip. So your movement of block of atoms, it is for moment of dislocation. So when dislocations, so slip can be defined as mechanism of plastic deformation along with twinning and climbing. In slip, your half planes of atoms, which is known as dislocation, is move on slip planes and slip directions. Next question is, which of the following is a point imperfection? So vacancy, interstitial C, Frankel imperfection, Schottky imperfection, all these are point defects. So D will be the answer. These are the definitions. Next is, which of the following defects is Schottky defect? The options are vacancy type of defect, compositional type of defect, or interstitial or surface defect. Answer will be vacancy defect. So this is your Schottky defect. So in this case, you'll be vacancy pair will be forming. So it will be vacancy type of defect. In case of compositional defect, you'll be having some difference in composition from a pure metal. So there will be impurity present. So substitutional and interstitial defects are subcategories of compositional defect. And in case of interstitial defect, you will be having an atom other than the parent atom in interstitial. Surface defect is your just surface boundaries of a material. Next is, what does a Miller index of 011 represent in a crystal lattice? The options are a plane that intersects the x-axis at 0, y-axis at 1 and z-axis at 1. This first one will be the answer. So as I told earlier, how you find the Miller indices for plane. So using that you can find your intercepts. Next question is, what is hardenability of steel? Your answer will be, your options are resistance to oxidation, surface property, absence of atoms in lattice points, or the depth to which a steel is hardened. So last one will be the answer. Hardenability is depth to which steel is hardened after putting it through the heat treatment process. Next is, what is the crystal system of diamond crystal? And options are tetragonal, orthorhombic, cubic and triclinic. So your answer will be cubic. This is your crystal structure of diamond, which is a diamond is solid form of element carbon with its atomic arrangement and crystal structure called diamond cubic. So this will be cubic form having atoms at face centers and corners along with at tetrahedral voids. So that's it from my side. If you have any query, you can ask. If you don't have any query, you can leave. I'll be present here till 5.